Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part two of Create Expectations. So, if you've not watched part one, I legitimately do think you should watch part one before you watch my part this week. It will, but like
Finally.
I'm being genuine this time about it.
Admitting that sometimes you're not genuine.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's gonna make way more sense. We are talking about all the territory battle info, and we've already talked about it a ton on Zara's channel. So watch that first, like it, leave a comment, subscribe, do all the fun stuff, get all of the context of what we've talked about, and then you can come back here because we're just gonna pick it up right from where we left off there.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah,
And great.
and great. So I had briefly mentioned we were looking at what you could buy in the Get Three store.
Yeah.
Um, and it is, so I had briefly mentioned that the currency is capped at 25,000. Um,
Yes.
so
And people are. I think this is funny. People are like, and to chop it all off, it's capped. This currency is capped. And I guess I can. Okay, so people who like to hoard stuff really hate this.
right.
And I get that. I have a big hoard. Like on my account, on my main account, I have so much of certain materials. Like I'll spend it like to keep it top. I'll spend it down now, but not like I'm keeping like 30,000 of a lot of different currencies, and that's probably a waste. Like I should probably spend it all the way down, but I like having that slush fund too, of being able to be like, man, really need some shard store currency. I'm just going to buy the whole store a couple times.
Right.
It's like a savings account. But anyways, that they've been restricting how much we can buy of
Mhm.
it for a while, or a hold of it for a while.
Yeah. They started this over a year and a half ago when Conquest started. Like
Gosh, has Conquest been plaguing my life that long?
it has. I'm sorry to tell you.
I was wondering why I was feeling so old the other day.
That's when it started, right? Like the Conquest currency was capped.
Yeah, it was
And
capped.
it considerably lower than this. And then we got datacrons, and data cache is capped, and the datacrons themselves are capped. You can only have 30.
Yep. And
Uh,
then the attenuators are capped.
yeah. So I can understand the surprise because Get and Get 2 aren't capped, but it is a new currency, so I'm not surprised because of that reason. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I've always been like, I've never really hoarded those currencies. I've hoarded in the sense of like, if I know that I was going to get gas or whatever, I hoarded so that I would have enough currency to buy him every single time that he showed up in the store before the next territory battle happened and my currency was replenished again, right? But I wasn't hoarding the entire amount and then buying it. Um, so yeah, I don't have a savings fund of currencies or anything like that. And I don't anticipate saving. I mean, we don't know how much we're going to get from the rewards or anything yet. So,
Right. Oh, and I hope that we get some of the stuff that are territory war exclusive as well, because I
mhm.
mean, honestly, you can buy all the Gearda keypads that you want, and I guess you can buy some for crystals. You can buy the droid brains for crystals now, but
Mhm.
progression is still going to be crazy slow if that's what it is, because there's still a lot of guilds that can't even get one droid brain if you lose, you know?
Right.
Or even if you win. Like there's still a lot of guilds that are like that, and there's a lot of guilds who don't want to play territory wars, and I think it's honestly
Mhm.
that's been one of my gripes is I don't want to have one game mode to determine if I can actually play the game, because uh, you know now especially I've told people Relic 9 is not necessary except for Jedi Master Luke and now Adrad, I guess.
Right.
And then you don't need it. You don't need it to play the game successfully on any mode until now.
Right.
So
Which, like, when do you actually need it is my question, because when are you actually going to get to the phases that you need relic 9?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like it's going to be a while till you get there, but it's also going to take a while to build up, right? Like at some point where you're gonna, as a territory war or territory battle, sorry, officer, you're
Hmm.
going to say something like, "Guys, okay, we've been doing well at on phases 1, 2, and 3,
Hmm.
and it's like looking at the rewards and the special missions and stuff. I think we need to start making a push to get to level 4."
Right.
And then the same thing is going to happen to get to 5, but like it's gonna take a long time for a lot of people to get a full Relic 9 squad. Like there are a couple guilds that probably have like you know I don't think anyone has a full Relic 9 5-person team
No.
yet. I mean maybe like I mean I could like cobble one together, but it wouldn't be any good.
Right. There's no synergy or
Yeah. Like there are people who will have like Lord Vader and Maul and Royal Guard, and
Mhm.
then no one else will be Relic 9. Like maybe they'll have like Stormtrooper Relic 9, but like you never know if those teams are going to be good anyways. Uh, anyways, I just we're going to be needing to ramp up to it eventually,
Mhm.
and so of course that's where my mind is. I'm like the longest term thinker ever. I'm sure. I'm sure that's what I told the people in my job interview or something. It's not really, but like, I mean, that's what I immediately think. Like, we're gonna eventually need that.
Right, exactly. Whereas my thought is, but how long do we have until we actually need it? Because that is a slow build, right? Like, yeah, I have
Mm-hmm.
2 Relic 9s on my account right now.
Right.
So I'm obviously going to need some more. I would like to see what and this is why I'm like, there's so much information missing still, because I'm like, I want to see what the rewards are, because that is also going to be a huge factor
Huge.
in,
Yeah.
like, and this is the other thing, you're going to get those rewards twice a month now instead
True.
of once. So if there are relic materials in the rewards, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the other thing, and I think this is why I get into fights with the community because I don't blame them honestly. Like I've had a pretty big mind set shift in terms of like I don't blame people for being passionate about the game. If they're overreactive, like it can be like kind of annoying at times, I guess, depending on how they present themselves. But that's just like human interaction, period.
Right.
Like that's just how it works. I guess the big thing to me is uh you know I don't mind them being like, oh no, this is crazy. But I think that I like to point out, or I'm like, man, I'm like it's this truth junkie. I'm like, okay, guys, so yeah, you're right. Like it looks bad, but here's why I don't think it's gonna be bad. And they think that I'm just like minimizing what they have to say. They're like, man, here's Zareth with his huge account, not caring about us or
Right.
whatever. I just think, I have to think in terms of my smaller account too, and I don't know. This just doesn't seem to be like that awful. The big question to me though that I think everyone should be waiting to, like, everyone is panicking. Oh no, this is awful. Oh no. Like I remember like my Prevail Man account joining like I think it was Dark Side territory battles, and we couldn't even, like, we just stayed in like the front zones the entire time, like
Right.
the entire time, and we ended up with like 4 stars or 5 stars, and that was like everyone deemed that worthwhile because we got GET2
Right.
for it. Like it was worth it. So the question is, how many stars is worth it? Because you potentially don't even need to finish a single wave of combats,
Mhm.
depending on how you plan it.
Right. And like, so, and that's the thing. That's why I really want to see the rewards, because then you're able to make a really, or a better decision for your guild, if it is like, if you're the guild leader or whatever.
Right.
Um, you're able to compare, like, what are you getting now? What are you getting? What would you roughly get in the new territory battle? And you can plan and see if it's worth it. Like, okay, there's no get one, but we get this instead. Like, so it is, I think, a pretty big piece of information that's missing. And I don't know if we're going to necessarily get it before um before territory battle goes live.
Right.
Sorry, my phone locked on us.
Right.
But yeah, there's that. There is yeah. Yeah. We just need to know the rewards. We need to know the platoon info in terms of what they affect. We need to know how many combats are in a zone, what the points are per zone. And then it's going to be a mind shift for a lot of people because it's been so long since the majority of us first started light side geo. Like, we got 12
Yeah.
stars in light side geo at the start, and we're probably going to be going towards, like, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 10 maybe, if we're lucky.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, but it's gonna be a shift. I mean, I think
Mhm.
that we have higher star potential just because it's a 6 day event
Right.
actually instead of four, so that's actually in our favor, at least for organized guilds.
Hmm. And like, and that's a really big thing too, is guilds really, because there are so many guilds who don't do this. You really need to, if you are going to switch, or if you're not switching and you're not doing this already, just reevaluate if you are maximizing your stars. Like, are you preloading
Right.
where you should preload?
I remember, yeah, that used to be a big part of the. It was like, what path did you follow to make sure that you get the maximum stars? Like, because right
Mhm.
now it's real simple and obvious, at least to the guilds that I'm in. Like, this is what we do to get max stars.
Right.
But yeah, it's I think it's interesting. I think to me the biggest thing is, can we get to Reva relatively easily? And we won't know that until we have more info, of course, like the things that you were just saying. But
Mhm.
to me, it's like, okay, it's the race, it's the arms race. I remember back when Treya was first released, way back in the day for the Sith raid, and
Mhm.
I was like, my guild isn't doing it. They're just counting on me to do everything. I was so annoyed. I was about to quit. I was about to leave, and then I managed to like get. I just like they swapped me out to a bigger guild in the guild alliance, and I was suddenly earning those shards. But it's like it's important to me. I have to keep up, kind of, at least on my main, and my alt would really truly like to as well.
Mhm.
Um, so how soon can we get there? Like bigger guilds are gonna get to Sector 3 easy enough, I think, because that's gonna be
Right.
the number one priority. Like that has to be Reva number one thing out of anything.
Well, so, and what is interesting is, so, and this goes back to how you're preloading the phases, right? You
Hmm.
could theoretically get to phase 3 in dark side and mixed on this territory battle and not leave phase 1 of light side,
Right.
like if you really wanted to. So it's going to matter which way your guilds go. I will say, in terms of planning, because I think this is weird, and I don't know if it's a typo. I don't know if it is, I don't know if it's intended this way. Based off, so in this post, they laid out the planet modifiers and which characters are needed for special missions in those zones, essentially. Um, it looks like the Reva mission is in the mixed zone.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
they didn't say that it was, but it looks like that way because they specifically say that Grand Inquisitor plus 4 Inquisitors are needed in the mix zone in phase
Right.
3.
Hmm.
So I would, if we don't get to see like the actual map of this and how it works before it goes live, I would recommend for any guild officer or TB officer that is going to to plan it, and if your goal is to get to Reva, just once it's live, go in and double check where the Reva mission is, because it looks like I would think that it would be on the dark side path, but according to the post, if I'm reading it correctly, it looks like it's on the mixed.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what did you think? So they released today.
Mhm.
They released the information about Riva first before anything else, and they said
Right.
that you would need. I think that that's where they said that we would need
Relic set.
Relic 7 to get there, which obviously that's moving the goalpost a little bit because you need five Relic 5s to get to Grand Inquisitor.
Right.
Someone asked me for my podcast. They were like, so what's the best use of Inquisitors before you get Grand Inquisitor, and then after you get Grand Inquisitor, but before you get Reva, and then once you get Reva, like what's the best use for all of them? I was like, before you get Grand Inquisitor, the best use is to unlock Grand Inquisitor. And then the next bet, like once you have Grand Inquisitor, the best use you can have for that team is to unlock Reva.
Mhm.
And once you get Reva, then you unlock Reva for your guildmates.
Right.
So yeah, obvious.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that was where they said that her mission would be in phase 3.
yep.
I think that's where they said it was in phase 3. But it would require Relic 7 across the board. It would require
Right.
Grand Inquisitor plus 4 Inquisitors at Relic 7.
Well, and no one had the glimmer that maybe Sector 3 would actually be like across the board Relic 7
Right.
requirements, which frankly it did surprise me. I was like, that seems a little steep. I mean, yeah, my main can maybe compete a little on that level, but yeah, like 7. uh, I was like, man, Electrium. I don't have enough Electriums. Ain't nobody got enough Electriums for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that's the thing, because when I read it, I assumed it was for the mission, the same way like the CAM mission has a GP requirement. And the CAM special mission in phase 4 has a GP requirement. And like, you have all these GP requirements for the special missions throughout light side geo and even dark side geo. And I was like, okay, they're just getting rid of GP and they're making it relics instead. Like,
Hmm.
fine. I did not expect it across the board. So, yeah, I think everyone was shocked there.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then I think if you are planning to go, like this is kind of what we've been telling our guild too, is don't necessarily start throwing Relic 7 on them right away, because
Right.
we don't know who you have to sit out. And like I'm planning to just hoard the materials and then drop the Relic 7 on them.
Right. So can I give my so people who want to get early starts? Can I give
Right.
my just like in general thought? So
Hmm.
here's my thoughts on which ones are going to be like. Okay,
Useful.
so yeah, so who knows? Like obviously, Grand Inquisitor, get him to
Yeah.
Relic 7 or 8, whatever. Like he is actually wonderful at 7 or 8. He does a lot of stuff. He's gonna be worth it no matter what.
Hmm.
And they've already said that he's gonna be one. So that's obvious. But beyond that, so I think in terms of the hierarchy of usability,
Hmm.
you're gonna want Ninth Sister. Ninth
Yeah.
Sister is like someone that a lot of people actually have already taken to Relic 9. I mean, I see
Hmm.
it all the time. All the damn time against the opponents that I face. She is just so crazy thick. Like, she's a modern tank. Like, she is built for
Hmm.
with Relic 9 in mind, and she is crazy good for what she does for that team. And at Relic 9, she's crazy. So, I think the next guaranteed one is her. I think then after that, it's a toss up between Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister.
Yeah.
Those two are really good for different reasons. I can see them maybe getting shut out from the mission for various reasons, depending on what's required. I mean, like if you can't gain bonus turn meter or take turn meter away or ability block, like Seventh Sister has a lot of different things that could just make her not usable at all.
Right.
So I would save it. I would save gear for her. Don't place it on her yet. But Fifth Brother is a pretty safe one just because we know that his ship is going to be good.
Right.
So even if it's like, oh crap, yeah, that would have, he's not actually good enough for the Reva mission, he still will be strong for that ship.
And
It won't.
and we know that ship is going to be needed.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a ship that has all these TIE fighter pilots or TIE fighters. Like all these ships are going to rely on the relic levels of the pilots. And so, I mean, I'm going to be up against a lot of people with the relic 9 fifth brother.
just
You know,
madness. Uh,
that's just how it is.
yeah. So, I thought Nine's sister would be relatively safe. And I agree with
Yep.
you. The majority, like we even have people in our guild that they took her to relics to stick her with Lord Vader.
Absolutely. She is like the one plug and play awesome one. So,
Mhm.
um beyond that, eighth brother, I suspect that he's going to be used. He's way stronger actually. A lot of people seem to think the second sister was better.
Mhm.
Eighth brother is objectively better, at least in terms of how he performs in like all the other game modes. Second sister though is also another one. It's like, well, if you want to get her to 7, her ship hits like a damn truck. It's not just a normal truck; it's a damn truck. And I'm making sure to say that a few times because someone the other day was like, "You should stop using that. It's like a truck. It's offensive or something." I was like, "I'm gonna use that more now."
Oh,
But yeah, it's nice. I'm not nice. So,
but
anyways,
like we have all of these Inquisitors, and I
yeah.
don't know, you're probably gonna want to plug and play with them a little bit. I don't know in terms of what game mode you're
Mm.
in or what you're facing, who would slot in there. Um,
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the best ways to get the blind feat in Conquest, for instance, is
mhm,
Eighth Brother. If you're like on the tier 5, if you're facing the Jedi and stuff, he does
mhm.
an AOE day, or sorry, an AOE blind on just Jedi.
Yeah, which is
So
fantastic.
yeah, it works really nice. Like yeah, you can just spam that. Well, 3 or 4 times a day or whatever, but um yeah, they're not. I'm interested to see what ends up happening because now, like in threes, we're gonna actually be able to split into 2 full groups.
Hmm. Yeah, you'll have two full Inquisitor teams.
Yeah, so obviously Relic 5, and then I think the ones that are the safest though: Grand Inquisitor, Ninth Sister, and then the rest of them you can maybe hold. I think Fifth Brother would be the next one to go.
Hmm. And I mean, the good thing is, like, if you have Grand Inquisitor, they're already all at Relic 5. So you're only going from 5 to 7. So it's just hoarding the materials and signal data for that.
Yeah, I struggle so much with the discipline for it, but
Yeah.
I'm my well, yeah, my alt is absolutely going to be uh, struggling to get there in time, but
Right. Because it's a lot of gear and signal data and
well,
yeah.
ironically, I'm going for Jabba right now, and so I Jabba actually only has a couple Relic 7 requirements.
Yeah.
Like, so all this Electrium, he doesn't really require much Electrium at all. Long term, and I mean for himself and for his team, I guess like you want like Boosh to be higher than Relic 5, for instance, but yeah, and Chrysanthemum, blah blah blah. But for the unlock of him, you don't really need much, and so I'm like, well, all the Electrium can just go to Inquisitors, and I can still farm Jabba at a pretty decent rate.
Right. Yeah, because you're throwing the gear on the characters and stuff like that for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. What do you have anything else that you wanted to pick out from this post? Because I mean, the only other thing really is the platoons were released, but
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I I didn't I will be honest, I didn't look past phase 4 of platoons because I was like, we're probably not going to be there for a while.
So you know what I thought of when I saw that when I saw that they had to that you have to have a certain relic level for platoons.
Right.
And then the thing that clicked with me when you were like, oh yeah, there are GLs on the platoons. Remember that trigger photo of the guy who just has a bunch of Gear 1 Galactic
GLs.
Legends?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna have to gear up, like relic him up if he wants to help
He
his
wants to help his
guild.
guild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
poor fellow has to actually do something with those. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Um, but they are, let's just see if this will. So I don't think there are any Galactic Legends in phase one. I think they start in phase two. But I mean, in phase one, you've already got Staros in there a few
Nice.
times. Um, this I thought was interesting. They're putting capital ships in platoons as well, which
Ooh.
they're called operations this time, not platoons. But yeah, so like Home One's in there, Executrix is in there. Like, uh,
I wish
I
they were
thought,
called preparations.
but it's interesting and like, so I will say what I am doing tomorrow, I guess today when this comes out. I'm going to replicate this into an actual like a spreadsheet that I can type into and stuff. And then I'm going to be going through our guild roster and seeing who has which characters at the required relic level, not necessarily assigning them to that person, but to see if we have enough of them. Um, and then that way, if I can know right off the bat, we can't fill this platoon, so we're just going to ignore it. And we can't fill this one, so we're going to ignore it. Like, because there's no point filling it. And someone loses out on their Jedi Knight Revan or their Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker or whatever. Um,
Right, for nothing, for no gain.
exactly.
So, is Afra required in any of them? Do you know?
Um, I don't know actually. I don't remember seeing her in any of them. You got the TIE Interceptor though. Let's just skip ahead here and see. So yeah, but you can see. So this is phase two, light side Jedi Master Kenobi, Profundity.
Nice.
Uh,
Wow.
tons of Ben solos, like a whole bunch of. I didn't see Afra at all in phases 1 through 3.
Could you just look at let's look at phase 6. I'm curious because she's not released yet. We don't even have her kit. Like,
Right. Okay, so this is the light side for phase 6.
this would be a relic 9 Afra, right?
Um, she's dark side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's gonna be in mixed or dark if she isn't here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But like look at like Relic 9 Chief Nebbit. Like there's some of these relics that I'm like, oh man, it's going to be
Hmm.
super interesting.
Yeah, in a year though, the landscape is going to be shifted pretty dramatically, especially with the infusion of all these new relics available.
Totally. Totally. There's Hondo.
Okay, yeah, I don't see Afra,
I
so
don't see her.
that's like the line they'll draw. Like no Reva, no Afra,
Yeah.
and
So,
everything else though up to Sana.
right. So everything before that is in there and everything. So Afra, Riva, and then anything that comes afterwards. Because they did say these are going to be static. Um,
Yeah.
so we should be relatively okay there. Um,
So and it's gonna be interesting to see like all the comments people of course will get the accusations of like you're so disconnected from the major player base and uh you I think that out of all the people you should be the one who should choose for the whole community whether to be super grumpy or not, frankly, because you're the one who has to plan around it in a guild that
mhm.
has limited resources. Like you have a guild that is it's the ideal one to be trying to tackle this thing, and and with the realistic like my big guild is like, well, we're going for it no matter what, even if we kind of struggle, like we have to.
Right.
But I don't know. How overall like are you dreading this? Are you excited? What's your overall like at the end of the day? You're what are your thoughts? Are you excited? You happy? I don't want to
Yeah.
project. Let's hear.
I so I'm a very big believer in not screaming that the sky is falling before we actually like get our hands on it and get to try it, right? Like that is the first thing. And I've flat out like I've spoken to the other officers in our guild. I went through today and I made a whole territory battle planning page in our Discord, created a new tag for certain people because we're gonna have people helping with ideas and planning and stuff like that. Um, and I was like, the first one, and probably even the second one, like the month of December, is going to be a trial. Like it's going to be a throw whatever you want at the wall and see what sticks, right? So the thing that I like with territory battles is it is static. It's the same combat, especially now. It's the same enemies in the combat missions. The platoons are static. It's going to be the initial planning is like an onslaught, so to speak, but then it's just subtle tweaking from there. Once you just do like the big plan that you kind of need to get started, after that, the tweaking of it is so minor when you make your way forward for progressing. So it looks more daunting than what it is. I think it will be fine in terms of um I don't want to say like delegating orders to the guild, but in terms of being like, okay, we need this in platoons and we need you to work on uh someone in the guild needs to work on this character. I think this is
Right.
what will end up happening and what we will see a lot of is okay, if we want to maximize platoons in phase one, we are short an Ewok scout and we are short a Lobot and we're short a Churret
Right.
and like just these characters. And it's going to be a we need people to volunteer to take one to relic whatever for the platoon. And you might not necessarily have to do all of them, but
Right.
you could be like, okay, well, you know what? So for example, in phase three, you need a relic 7 K2SO in your platoons.
Hmm.
And I was talking to someone about it today, and they're like, "Well, my K2SO is at relic 5, so it's not that big of a jump for me if we need to do
Right.
that." And I think that's going to be a lot of what happens. I'm I personally am not scared in the sense of like it being daunting to plan or anything like that, just because I've been coordinating territory battles for years. And I keep my notes so I know to expect it to feel like we've hit a brick wall the first couple of go rounds. We have to find our footing. And this goes across the board for every single person doing it. You got to find your footing, regardless of if you're planning it as a territory battle officer or what the deal is. Um, and it just gets a little bit smoother every single time. Like
Yeah.
I think it's going to be okay. It's going to be daunting. It's going to be very different. And we all just need to get used to not going the whole way through the map again, right? Like we're not going phase
Right.
one to phase four or first phase to last phase. It's going to be you have to slowly progress again.
Which I mean, I like. I don't want to have it solved. Like one of the things that like, and CG kind of said it too when they released the Rancor raid, and we solved it really quick, and then they changed it a little bit, and then we solved it again. They're like, man, this is months and months and months of work for us, and the community solved it so dang
Mhm.
quickly, and it takes the magic away a little bit. Like it's fun to, as a guild, collectively work toward these things. That's one of the most fun things in this game, frankly. Like I
Right.
think that's the one thing about the PVE content that they have here is if you have a good group of people and you can work toward these goals, it's fun. It's like, whoa, no way, this guy Relic 7 Lobot for us? That's awesome, man. Like good job. Thanks, we
Right.
won't kick you.
But also like I think the one thing also that a lot of people are focusing on and I don't blame them for focusing on this because I also find it interesting is they did say they wanted this TB to be modular so they could move zones in
Hmm.
and out And it doesn't feel like that's going to happen because of the gates that are happening with relics and how difficult it's going to be to get to those zones, for example.
Mhm.
So I can understand why that would be a like, well, why did you say that? Because it's obviously not going to be the case. Um,
I think they said it for the bonus zones, bonus
bonus
nodes, or
nodes,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
So which like we don't know what those are yet. Like there could be a
Mm-mm.
bonus node in phase two.
Yep.
Um, and to be honest, I wouldn't want to go into a territory battle knowing that I had to relic 7 my Inquisitors to get Reva and go in and say I was in a guild that was like, we're not going to be able to try this for 5 months. Um, and you go in 5 months later and CG is like, okay, well, in 3 months, we're going to rotate out Reva.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't want that. I would want it to be there for at least a little bit of time before any rotating was happening.
Right. I totally agreed.
So it makes sense. And the other thing in terms of difficulty and gating and all this kind of stuff, the post, every time we've gotten new content, the post has been moved further and further and further down. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that has to keep happening because of what like that example you gave with Challenge Pit. Like if they don't move the post, then they release it and day one or week one or month one, whatever, the community's figured it out and it's maxed.
I mean, they've moved the goalpost. That's what the nature of this game is. It could be feel annoying. It could be feel frustrating. At the end of the
Yes.
day, if you hate that so much that it just makes you rage, I say this with love, but you might want to reconsider playing this type of game because that is just the fundamental aspect of this. Like they will always move the goalpost. That's why no announcement of Relic 10. I guess that's good. I'm okay with that. Whatever. In the end, Relic 10 wouldn't probably bother me that much anyways. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'd face it a lot, but yeah, like it wouldn't be a huge deal. At the same time, like it's gonna happen eventually though. Like you
Totally.
know it is. It has to.
Totally. So, yeah, I think it's just a matter of, and I don't want people to think that I'm like minimizing that it's annoying or minimizing their viewpoint because I agree, like it is annoying. Like I will fully tell you, like I'm not going to be able to put multiple Relic 7 teams together for phase three.
Correct.
Like I already know that. Probably the same thing on Professor X.
Right, Relic 6 will be a pretty big stretch. I have everyone at Relic 5. 5 is
Right.
relatively easy to get. Like once you start having to spend some of the really tough to get signal data, it's becoming a challenge. Electrium is dear, etc.
So like I totally understand that frustration. I
Hmm.
just don't see it as it necessarily like the sky is falling. Like if we went from max light side territory battle rewards to 12 when we switched 12 stars when we switched to Geonosian and we stuck with that because the rewards were better, then I think it is safe to assume once we see the rewards that we'll know the rewards are going to be better, even if we're not
Right.
making our way through it. And I mean, just to put like a little bit of a positive, little tiny bit spin on it, if we're
Uh-oh.
preloading phases, if we are, dying in 30 seconds in waves or whatever, and the rewards are better, even if we're getting whatever crap count of stars we're getting, you're
Yep.
still spending less time in game, most likely.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you aren't because you're planning all of it,
Right.
but
I'm
yeah,
not. Everyone else, though, probably is. So that can be a
yeah.
little bit of a refreshing thing when you've got Conquest going on and Grand Arena going on. Then you might not necessarily, or if you know phase one, we preload, and then phase two is when we actually do go after the stars. That's a whole day that you don't really need to worry.
Right. Well, and you also have this thing where platoons stop being like as totally necessary both
Hmm.
days because if you're preloading, it's like okay, you one day we'll put all the platoons we can in, and then the
Hmm.
next day those platoons persist. So, all right, we're done with platoons. Just go do your combat missions. You know,
Exactly.
it's all iterated.
Yeah. So that might be kind of like a bonus upside.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to leave it at, to be honest, Sarah.
Yeah. So totally understand everyone's frustration, but I still think we should just see it and try it before we grab the
Yep.
pitchforks.
And I feel like you're going to be the first one to yell, like, to just be super angry and get out the pitchfork because you're the one who's going to have to be navigating it
Right.
the most. Like, you're the one who's going to have to be like, all right, herd of cats, let's go.
It's gonna be fine.
Everything's fine.
It's all fine.
Shall we call it?
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's all the TV stuff we know.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned for next week. We'll have more TB stuff. In fact, we'll actually have,
Oh yeah,
we'll just be in.
we'll be in it theoretically.
Whew. Maybe we should try a live stream or something.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't. All right, guys, take care.
That's it.